You didn't value me then. That was the what? Barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. That's where women were supposed to be. Let's just think about that. But anyway, so that is Johnny Cash. God bless Robert E. Lee. And of course, that whole song is paying homage to Robert E. Lee and his leading this army that loses. Let's be very clear, they lose. But he put up. I guess he put up a fight. He put up the good fight. He put up the good fight, but he lost. But he lost. That's almost like a boxing match, and somehow you pay homage to the loser of the boxing match. Like that, it just never goes down like that. But to these people that were in Charlottesville, Virginia, they were this alt-right, alt-left. I don't care what title you give them. But these people full of what I would say is ignorance, they are fighting for Robert E. Lee. And they don't want his statue removed. I don't know if it's just because it's always been there, and so change is so fearful. But it's definitely time to move on. And lest I refresh everybody's memory that the U.S. went over to Iraq and took down the statue of Saddam Hussein, because Saddam Hussein was not a symbol of the new era that was about to come upon Iraq. But the statue came down, and there was a whole, oh yeah, because he no longer represented the era, the building of this new, country and how it was going to look. And so, but now all of a sudden we have issues with the Robert E. Lee statue coming down. Come on, y'all. Cause there are a million ways to, for you to remember him. Cause like I said, he's in every history book. So you don't have to go to, your KKK outfits and, violence. A young lady lost her life when somebody plummeted their vehicle into a whole group of people. What is that? What is that? And so, it's about violence. It's about hatred. It's just about being nasty. And there is no, I can guarantee to you as a black person that if that were a black person that started this, this hate war, oh my goodness, it's certainly they didn't bring out the police to that event, for a long time. And don't sit there. I hear you. I hear some of the soul circles saying, well, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is not because Black Lives Matter because no other life matters. What it says is, out of all the other lives that are valued, Black Lives Matter as well. And so it's not some sort of tricky as one or the other. It's just just like you value every other life, you need to value Black lives. Black Lives Matter. And so it's not a hatred. It is an acknowledgement that, while Black lives, you're killing black people left and right. Black men are being killed for nothing. Eric Garner, Trayvon Martin, they're being killed and nobody's facing consequences, which would leads me to believe that black lives, black men are not valued and they do not matter. So we can kill and nothing will happen. But anyway, so that is the one part. So, I just explained to you the whole conflict of where, hip hop is just so very near and dear to my heart. So it comes out, of course, prefaced with Google and, hip hop. They say that the birthday of hip hop is August 11th of 1973. I believe 73 or 74. So that's right up my alley. That's why I love hip hop so much. I was born around that time. I was born in 71. And so, that was the time. I grew up with hip hop. I grew up in the time where it was don't listen to hip hop. That's bad music, blah, blah, blah. And I was no. The streets have something to say. The streets have something to say, and you can find it in hip hop. You can find it in soul music, of course. You can find it in R&B music, but hip hop is a new platform for, for the voice, for a voice. And so that's what it is. That's one of the reasons I love hip hop so much, because we grew up together, like brother and sister, right? So, we definitely grew up together. But we're going to go into the next song, which is my song. It kind of encapsulates both, right? So the whole issue of, we need some unity, but we need to acknowledge, like, they don't want to acknowledge, that wasn't me, that wasn't my great grandmother. People don't want to acknowledge it, deal with it, and reconcile it. That is the only way to go about it. But it's coming to a head. It's like coming to a head. And it needs to be dealt with. Race is a very deep issue. Like, it's not going to be addressed on Monday and then on Tuesday it's going to be some sort of resolution. Like, no, we're talking about hundreds of years of just how race impacts the U.S. And so it needs to be acknowledged, though. It needs to be acknowledged. So yes, this is what happened. This is what happened in the US of A. But this is how we are going to attempt to reconcile it. And reconciling it is conversations like, this is what happened, and this is what happened, and this is what happened. And it goes on and on and on. But anyway, back to hip hop and the marriage in this podcast of hip hop with the Riots. Here's a hip hop tune that I love, because I love the hip hop artist behind it, which is Common, and this is A Dream.
Through the maze of the madness, struggle is my address where pain and crack lives. Gunshots coming from sounds of blackness, given this game with no time to practice. Born on a blacklist, told I'm below average, a life with no cabbage. That's no money if you from where I'm from. Funny, I just want some of your son. Dark clouds seem to follow me. Alcohol that my pop swallowed bottle me. No apology, I walk with a bold on my shoulder. It's a cold war, I'm a colder soldier. Hold the same fight that made Martin Luther the king. I ain't using it for the right thing. In between lean and the fiends, hustle and the schemes, I put together pieces of a dream. I still have one. I got a dream. One day we gonna work it out. One day we gonna work it out. One day we gonna work it out. I have a dream. I got a dream. One day we gonna work it out. One day we gonna work it out. One day we gonna work it out. I have a dream. I got a dream. That one day I'ma look deeper than myself. I gotta find a way. I have a dream. My dream is to be free. My dream is to be. My dream is to be. My dream is to be free. The world see me looking in the mirror, images of me getting much clearer. Dear self, I wrote a letter just to better my soul. If I don't express it, then forever I hold inside. I'm from a side where we gotta control. Rap music and the hood play the fatherly role. My story like yours, yo, gotta be told. Trying to make it from a gangster to a Galia role. Red scrolls of stone slaves and Jewish people in cold cage. Hate has no color or age. Flip the page. Now my rage became freedom. Right dreams in the dark, they far, but I can see them. I believe in heaven more than hell. Blessings more than jail. In the ghetto, letting love prevail. With a story to tell. My eyes see the glory and well. The world waiting for me to yell. I have a dream. I got a dream. One day we gonna work it out. One day we gonna work it out. One day we gonna work it out. I have a dream. I got a dream. One day we gonna work it out. One day we gonna work it out. One day we gonna work it out. I have a dream. I got a dream. That one day I'ma look deep.
So that is common. It's called a dream. But, I mean, the thing that is so amazing to me is that with these riots that just happened in 2017, that samples Martin Luther King, which is from the early 60s during the civil rights era. And it's still the same thing. Maybe, you can go to the counter and sit and eat. But there are hidden, very covert, ways that racism does express itself. And that is a prime example. That's a prime example. The pulling down of Robert E. Lee, that statue, and that there's a riot that happens because there are people that, don't believe that Robert E. Lee should be taken down. But let's just be very clear that there's no other loser in any other, I can't think of any other conflict where there's a loser that you just get so upset when, they don't have the statue. And it's not like you take the statue down, you melt it down, and so it's gone for forever. I mean, you can take the statue to maybe a U.S. American history, but it has no place in a public arena, such as, at the state house, at the state house of any state. Now, of course, Virginia is probably one of those states that was part of the whole Confederacy. And, so they feel differently about Robert E. Lee. But even still, there are now black people that live in Virginia that are not picking cotton. And as such, let's not take them back to when they were, because it's nothing really other than the strength that was shown. But other than that, like what exactly is being illustrated by having Robert E. Lee in a public place such as at the State House? I mean, like what exactly is there? So, I mean, we definitely need to think about that. And so while we're thinking about that, we just heard a hip hop song, and so hip hop, comes in all different. They're all different types of hip hop. There are men and women in hip hop. Unfortunately for this podcast, I do have just one female MC, but I'm all about the female MC. Because then that gets into a gender conflict. I'm just all conflicted all the time, right? So while we are talking about race, now we're talking about hip hop. Like, would Robert E. Lee wish hip hop a big birthday? Like I'm doing. There are several days that they kind of denote as the birthday of hip hop. This particular, the August 11th, comes from when Kool Herc, he had a back to school jam, and all of the elements of hip hop came together at that moment, and it was celebrated. And from there it started to grow. It went through its growing issues, growing pains, of course. There were people that didn't want hip hop to grow, but now hip hop, you can't get away from it. It's all over the place. There was a time when you can't listen to hip hop. That's that's bad music. But now hip hop is, everyone listens to hip hop. I certainly do hope that everybody would start supporting hip hop, but everybody listens to hip hop. But anyway, in the vein of with hip hop, merged with the whole issue of, what's going on in the U.S., all I'm saying is just acknowledge it. Acknowledge it and let's talk about it. It can't just be, oh, well, that happened back then. It wasn't me. Well, yeah, it wasn't you, but understand that there are certain privileges that were born out of that era that are still very ingrained in the U.S. fabric, and that has to go as well. So that's one of the things. But the next That's My Song is Run